So this has been going around too. It's been trending. This is an article from Variety. Orlando Bloom spoke to director Andy Serkis about new Lord of the Rings movies and wants to return. If Peter Jackson says jump, I say how high. So I thought it's interesting that the headline says Lord of the Rings movies and not specifically the Lord of the Rings The Hunt for Gollum movie. So that's something to keep in mind. So the article says a few days after Ian McKellen expressed interest in returning as Gandalf in Peter Jackson's new live-action Lord of the Rings movies, his co-star Orlando Bloom is adding his name to the list. When asked by Variety if he was interested in returning to the Tolkien franchise, the Legolas actor said, "Oh man, those things are amazing. I don't know how they do it. I guess with AI, you can do anything these days. But if Peter Jackson says jump, I say how high. I mean, he started my whole career." Yeah, so I guess he's just thinking the logistics with his return as far as de-aging and stuff. I do remember, I think people thought he looked weird in the Hobbit movies. I thought he looked okay. But yeah, I think at this point, there's definitely going to have to be some de-aging going on, which has vastly improved even since The Hobbit. So I think it would look better. I'm trying to think of a recent comparison. So I guess Harrison Ford, his latest turn with the de-aging and the Dial of Destiny. So I guess that's a more accurate depiction of where the technology is, but even then, like, it's improving at breakneck speed. So I think the bigger challenge would be Ian McKellen, how the de-aging would work for him, because that would be some definitely more intricate when it came to that, because he still looks old. He has to look the same amount of old as he has always. So that's going to be interesting, but he's open to do it. So they're all open. I think Viggo Mortenson said the exact same thing as Orlando Bloom is saying, that he doesn't know how the logistics of it will work when it comes to his face, when it comes to his age, but he's open to it. So as long as they know how to pull it off, I guess that's the kicker. So the article continues, I really don't know what they are planning, Bloom added. I did speak to Andy Serkis and he did say they were thinking about how to do things. I was like, how would that even work? And he was like, well, AI. And I was like, oh, okay. It was a pretty magical time in my life. And it's one of those things where there's not a downside to it. So they've already had conversations about it and how the technology would work. You'd have to do it better than Alien Romulus. I think that had more weird implications because the actor was deceased, unfortunately, for Ian Holm. He did not look good in Alien Romulus. Spoilers, I'm sorry. I don't know if you've seen that. But there is a Ian Holmes, his return. It's a different android, but yeah, it didn't look good. But I think that if you already have the actors filming the roles, and I don't know how AI would play a factor in that, but the technology is improving all the time. But I think it would work better when you have the actor actually filming the lines and recording his dialogue and things. Orlando Bloom, Ian McKellen, and I think Viggo Mortenson, again, he expressed those same exact concerns. And I'm sure that Andy Serkis has spoken with him too about it. It talks about, while the new Lord of the Rings movies are still in development at Warner Brothers, McKellen said earlier in September, I've just been told there are going to be more films and Gandalf will be involved, and they hope that I'll be playing him. When, I don't know. What the script is, it's not written yet, so they better be quick. And poor Ian McKellen, he recently suffered a fall while he was performing on stage. So yeah, you really got to be quick when it comes to that, and definitely very gentle with McKellen. Why the hunt for Gollum? The fans need and want the Silmarillion. I know, I'm right there with you, but I think that's up to the Tolkien estate, and it seems that they just don't want to give the rights to that yet. It seems like they're just uber focused on the appendices and just little information in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, stuff that hasn't been adapted yet, and those works. I would just love to see the Silmarillion attempted to be adapted. I would like some new stories. The Silmarillion would allow for multiple movies over a decade of gross potential. It will also allow for new and cheaper actors to be cast for a great story. I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know why that isn't being explored yet, but it's my hope. Those are the stories I would like to see. Yeah, which story in the Silmarillion would people want to see? Beren and Luthien, obviously, but which other story would be a good series? Turin would be a real bummer. I've heard people express they want like the first age stuff, but they feel like it would be better as an animated version because it's so visually too much to actually film. But like in an animated form, it might be better. Anything to do with the Silmarils, I think would be amazing. And I think that would also connect so well in multiple movies and projects. Beren and Luthien's at the top of my list. I think it's perfect. I think it has all the elements I think fans and newbies, general audiences would love and appreciate. I think it has everything. It has that high fantasy element. It's got some amazing villains and heroes and the themes of friendship and fellowship and loyalty. And I think there would be just so much of that that reminds us of Aragorn and Arwen, obviously with Beren and Luthien's story, and you'd have the romance, but also they both have such amazing moments. Luthien especially she's so epic. I think that would be great to feature. And to see Morgoth on screen and Huan, I think that would be just great for fans and newbies. I think it's the best. Feanor being his terrible self would be amazing live action. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, Children of Hurin is such a sad story, but would be incredible if done right. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, that's why I was thinking about Beren and Luthien, because it has that mainstream appeal. I don't know about, like, the ones that are just so dire and sad, how that would work. I think for anime that'd be great, but that's just my opinion. It would depend on how they handle it in live action. Children of Hurin, Beren and Luthien, and Fall of Gondolin, and a separate story of the Silmarils, but better if all stories were separate. The first stage is the best. It's definitely so much challenges when it comes to the first and second age, and I wish we would have a proper rise and fall of Numenor storyline. Unfortunately, Rings of Power isn't providing that. The Silmarillion has a lot going on, so it would be a big challenge. I hope someone does get the chance to adapt it, whether for anime or live action. Yeah, I think the stories that are more adaptable for live action would work, but yeah, there's some visually I just think would work better for anime. There's so much potential, so much untold stories. I don't know what the multiple movies too that they have in mind. The Hunt for Gollum, we know for sure, but there's also other plans for movies, so I don't know. Maybe they plan to negotiate something with the estate to get into that stuff. I'm sure it's going to cost them a pretty penny, that's for sure. So it's interesting they're talking about just Lord of the Rings movies, but not specifically just the one, The Hunt for Gollum. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention this. When it comes to The Hunt for Gollum, I tweeted this out a little bit ago. Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Lee Pace's return as Thranduil. I mean, if we're talking about Orlando Bloom, you gotta have Thranduil. You gotta have King Thranduil, please. You need to see a proper elf, a proper kingly elf on screen again. This is what I pictured, or at least in a similar vein to Anatar. Like, this is what, in my mind, would have been a near perfect depiction of Anatar. He has that vibe. And man, he looks so good. The armor here, I loved. And The Hobbit has some issues, definitely, but there is so much that I love about it. And his performance as King Thranduil was definitely top tier. Proper elf. And he's like one of those actors that seems ageless, so it would work even better. It seems like he doesn't age. He still looks like this, by the way. He's in Foundation right now. Still looks the same.